So we learned a lot about the theory of surfaces, but now we're going to see a live demonstration, and that's exactly why you've logged on and you're sharing the show. Before we go to that, though, I just want to remind everybody, you're dealing with the internet and the computers, and the cure-all finish to any problem you might have is to refresh, and that might solve your issue. And I'm seeing most people are having no issues, but every once in a while, recommend refresh, and you can solve your problems. All right, we're going to kick it to our live demo. Chris Straub, Hal Fowler outside, going to show us a little bit more.
Thank you, Joe. I'm Hal Fowler. I'm part of the Rottler team. I've been in the industry now for 37 years, and we're going to do a little demo here of our S86A with our Rottler quick level table. The quick level table makes this job very simple, but we're going to go on and put a head in here and do this little demo and show you how it works.
Well, while you're doing that, how long has Rottler had this quick leveling table?
Well, this leveling table has been around for actually a couple of decades now, but we have basically married it to the S85 and 86 series machines. As you can see, we just basically put the head up in there. We've got our parallels set. It has some pieces in the back that catch the head to keep it from rising up. And all we've got to do is roll the quick clamp in here. That will lock our cylinder head into position so that it doesn't move. And at that point, we're going to level it. We actually have a couple of different ways we can do that.
I saw that unique level. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this generally is the way that we do it. This is our Rottler dual axis level. We also have a magnetic indicator that can clamp on to the bottom of the cutter head to sweep back and forth, which sometimes makes it a lot easier if you're especially going to do some angle milling so that you can angle it to a specific amount.
Now, are these tools included with the S86 and 85 series, or are they options?
Well, these are optional pieces. But generally people are going to buy the dual axis level. This is actually another optional piece that you can purchase as well. But anyway, we're going to continue going here. We're going to guide it up in here. The table actually has a couple of handles here. One of them pivots it front to back, end to end, so that we can get her leveled. We're got our level up on here, and with it unlocked over here, can pivot it, get it set. Got it all set, and now we're going to move the machine over here near the cylinder head, and we have a touch-off indicator. And this touch-off indicator is actually the point in which the tool bit is going to make contact with the cylinder head. And brought it down here. Actually, we've got a couple thou to go till we get to that point. And what we're going to do is we're going to fine feed that thing down to our touch-off point, which is 0.
So everything's touchscreen with this machine?
Yes. We have a touchscreen, moves it here. All right, we've located our 0. We're going to set our zeros, which you can see here. And then we've got the length of the head, which this particular head is about 23 inches in length. And this will be our starting point. We've got it programmed to cut a total of 3 thousandths. This particular head, we're going to take a 2 thousandths roughing pass and then a 1 thousandths finishing pass.
And that's all programmable into the machine?
Absolutely.
So are you telling me we could go like 100 thousandths and program it, and it would sit there in multiple passes until
Absolutely. You could program that thing to take 50 thousandths off or 100 thousandths off. It's going to take whatever you program it to, say 2 thousandths per pass, 3 thousandths per pass. It's going to sit there and make passes, and while you're off doing something else, running another machine.
So you can literally walk away from this machine and while it's doing the work.
Absolutely. It's all about production and
Productivity.
automate, not populate.
Populate.
That's what we're all about today, is trying to do that.
Okay.
All right. We've got it leveled, got it all set, and so what we're going to do now is we're going to make a pass here.
All right.
Or actually going to make a couple passes. So hold that button down, and I'm going to hit it again.
Everybody talks about speeds and feeds. Again, programmable into the machine?
Absolutely. We can make it fast, slow, infinitely variable.
Okay. That's pretty darn cool. So this machine, like older style stuff, the bed doesn't actually move. It's actually the cutting head.
Well, that is one thing that is unique about the Rottler machine versus some of the other competitive machines out there, is that we have a traveling column. The good thing about having a traveling column is that it doesn't take up nearly as much room in a shop. That's a big plus today. There's nothing hanging off the end for it to run into a block or something like that.
And I noticed on this, I mean, this is a heavy piece of equipment. I think it's close to 5,000 pounds. So it's got to be quite rigid with that kind of mass.
Absolutely. And, here we go. We've got a cylinder head already done. It is just that easy to take it off, put the next head on.
So again, with this and that table and the machine, and especially with the option being able to set it and forget it. I mean, the productivity in the shop's up, because your guy that might have to be standing next to that older machine, with a machine like this, he can go off and be using another piece of equipment, and your shop rate is now doubled.
Absolutely.
And your customer's happy because he's getting his parts quicker.
Absolutely. Well, the great thing about this fixture and how it works, this thing, you could surface anything from the smallest of maybe a single cylinder motorcycle head to it will hold a 34-6E Caterpillar, which is a really large head. And with the T-slots in the table, if you can dream it up in a way to clamp something down, we can cut it.
So with as much turbo stuff as we have now, so we're even talking about machining turbo flanges and housings and that type of stuff.
Absolutely. Turbo housings, intake manifolds, exhaust manifolds, anything that you can dream up to clamp in this thing, hey, we can put a surface on it.
And so I guess as far as header flanges and everything else too?
Absolutely. Not a problem at all. We have a variety of tool bits for the application. For the folks that are out there listening to Chuck talking about CBN, PCD, we've got a wide variety of those inserts for whatever the application you might need, whether it be an up sharp, as Chuck mentioned in his part there, to surface aluminum block with steel sleeves in it. We have tool bits for cutting diesel heads. We even have a special octagon shaped insert for cutting diesel blocks.
And all this tooling, of course, I guess is available through Rottler, anything that you need.
Absolutely.
And I guess when a shop is looking at this type of piece of equipment, the sales rep will come in and do up a quote based on what you're doing in that shop and quote the tooling and everything that you need.
We're gonna, we've got this machine basically, and we have an 85 and an 86, and the difference in the two machines is the capacity. This fixture will fit in either of those machines, but one will accommodate approximately 40 inches and the other one gets a little over 50 inches. So we can pretty much take care of the needs of anything that's out there.
So on the S86, I guess since it's the larger of the two.
This is an 86 and this is the larger of the two machines. But if you have them sitting here, they will physically look very similar in size, and don't it's only 10 inches difference in space.
Okay. But somebody doing a lot of diesel stuff, larger type stuff, you're definitely going to want the 86.
The 86 is going to be where you're going to go, especially with those larger Caterpillars and Detroits and those type things.
Okay. All right. And then as far as I know they talked a little bit about the cutting type, so the CBN cutter is best for both aluminum and?
Well, CBN can be used on cast iron or aluminum. CBN is better designed for cutting cast iron, but it will cut aluminum. PCD is for aluminum and aluminum only. So if you're in that, what we're talking about, like an aluminum block with steel sleeves, you're going to have to go back to CBN. Only thing sometimes is the aluminum will want to adhere itself to a CBN insert. It'll kind of stick to it and it'll sort of smear it. But that's sort of the difference between the two tool bits, what they do.
And as far as if somebody was looking at one of these machines and was interested in purchasing one from Rottler, what kind of lead time would they be looking at, a production date?
We're generally in a month to 2 months, something like that. It just depends on the time of year and what we have going on.
But, years ago in the shop, what blows me away is you'd have to stand there in front of a machine, a surfacer, and every pass adjusted it and go through.
Not anymore. That's not the way of what we're out here to do.
And you're literally telling me everything on this is controlled by this touch screen.
Everything, and it's very, very simple. There's 4 buttons to set.
Okay.
Start of the cut, position of the cut, end of the cut.
So a machine shop, an established machine shop that may be buying one of these new machines and gets a younger generation in that's interested in doing something, they literally could be trained on this machine, and within A couple hours a day?
Well, half a day to get somebody up and going very proficiently.
The automation that Rottler has come up with, it is simply amazing. It really is.
That's obviously what we're here for, is to automate, not populate. Let's be as productive as we can. Today's world, we need to be able to run 2 or 3 machines at one time.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, this has been pretty eye-opening. A piece of equipment like this, pretty impressive.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to be able to show this to you and the rest of the world out there.
All right. Well, if you got any questions for us here, be sure if you can log on to the Rottler website and send them an email if you got any questions about the 86 or the 85. And stay tuned in. We've got some pretty good stuff coming up. All right. Thank you.
Hey guys, my name is Alex Bickle. We're here at Creason Racing Engines here in Troy, Missouri, and today the project is we're going to be surfacing the cylinder head, make sure it's flat so it has a good mating surface with the block. Alright, so today we're going to be working on the S8M. We're going to be working to get this deck flat so we have a good mating surface between the block and the head. And on a good reference, like on a small block Chevy, we got the exhaust ports that are right next to each other, so it has a lot of heat generated right here. So every once in a while, if the engine gets too hot, then it'll blow a head gasket and it might warp the head a little bit and we have to resurface it. The MLS head gasket will need about a 30 RA finish or lower, and I can usually get anywhere from like a 10 to a 15 RA finish. With the S8M machine, it's really nice because this fixture right here, we can move these blocks wherever we need real quick. And these hook into anywhere basically on the cylinder head with a good edge. Or for me, I use them in the exhaust port right here. I ran some machines that you really have to hook them inside the exhaust flange over here, and you have to hunt and search for bolts, and it just takes a real long time to get it set up. I've spent over an hour doing that kind of stuff. And with the S8M surfacer, I can essentially walk over here, move the blocks where I need them, get it all set up, and I can have this thing going in like 5 to 10 minutes. So that's a huge advantage with this machine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get to surfacing on the S8M surfacer, guys. So first off, when I get started, we're going to need to have these blocks somewhat close to where we want. Good reference point. I usually use the exhaust ports to get these wedges or hooks in there. We're going to go ahead and set it down on the valve cover surface. Go ahead and move these into the exhaust port. Make sure you have a nice flat square surface so that they can hook into. We're going to go ahead and move this adjustment piece here, and we're going to go ahead and move this piece over here. And then once you have everything set in place, I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything down. When I used to set these heads up in the machine, I would have to bolt a fixture on the back side of this exhaust flange here, and I would have to bolt it to a bar. The biggest issue was just finding all the bolts that you need. Sometimes they just get lost or roll away and whatnot. And then I would have to put the machinist jack up under this side to keep tension on it, so there wouldn't be any deflection or anything as the cutter would run across the top of it. So this is great because you have 4 points at which are underneath the cylinder head, and what that does is keeps the fixture really stable with the cylinder head side of it. Doesn't allow hardly any deflection at all. So then we have this set screw here. We have a lot of adjustment with it. If I need to, I can have it broken loose. I can move this wherever I need. So I like to have a good central point where I put the pressure, just so it doesn't try to push the head left or right, especially when it's being surfaced. And I can move this wherever I need it to be moved. So this is going to be, it's going to work out for me real good right about here, this intake port. So we'll go ahead and tighten this down. And most things on this machine work on a like a wedging principle, like in the backside on the exhaust ports. And then right here we have like a center point, which helps push down and in and into these wedges in the backside, and that really keeps it nice and tight while it's being surfaced. So we're all good there. I'm gonna go ahead and break this block loose, and we're gonna roll this cylinder head back to where it looks somewhat flat. And then we're going to make sure that we have the cutter head has an indicator on it. We're going to make sure that that is going to run down the center of the cylinder head. So once we get everything tightened down in here, I like to take this gaskets scraper here. Goodson sells this super scraper right here, and it's a carbide tip gasket scraper, and it's machined flat. Some people would say probably not to use it because it's a little bit harder than the aluminum, but it's not going to hurt to think you don't put a lot of pressure on it. And what this is going to do, it's going to make sure that we don't have any burrs sticking up or anything, so that when I put my level on here, I have a nice flat surface. So I'm just going to go ahead and run down this. You can see right there where it's getting rid of any kind of burrs. Have a nice flat surface. Run my hand across it, make sure we have nothing sitting on top. So we have this level right here, guys. It is a dual axis level from Rottler, and it makes the setup much faster on this. On some of the other surfacers that I've ran, we would just use an indicator, and once you get everything indicated in, it's not bad, but getting to the point where you're somewhat close to being indicated in, it can take quite a while. But with this, you just line the bubbles up into the center of the marks, and it gets you within a couple thousandths almost every time I've ever used it. Then I can run an indicator across to my cutter, and I'll know I'm square from there. Alright, we're all set. We'll go ahead and lock this down. Go ahead and take my level. I'm just going to set that up here out of the way. I think it's broken. So we have the lock right here for our cutter head. I'm going to go ahead and run this cutter head up. And we're going to go ahead and run this thing over. When I use this indicator, I like to usually use about 10 thousandths of preload. That way when I'm running across it, I can just keep this indicator pushed down, and the indicator won't get caught on any of the bolt holes or the combustion chamber or anything like that. Brand new cylinder head, and it's actually warped in the center a little bit. And I'm within 2 thousandths left to right. And while I'm down here, I'm going to go ahead and set my cutter's range of travel. Alright, we are 8 thousandths and 8 thousandths of preload, so we are ready to go. Alright, so I like to get the cutter head over the cylinder head here, and I'll actually take the cutter itself, and I will lower the cutter head down until I feel it catch on the deck of the head, and I'll go ahead and raise it up. And what I'm doing here is just making sure that I have a clean cut front to back. You can just hear that right there. It hit all the way across, and you can actually see on here that it hit from front to back all the way right there. Go ahead and hit my cycle start. I like to stay real close just to make sure that we have no issues here. You can hear that, it's just hitting some burrs that's just going cutting along. And like I said, I'm just doing a zero pass on here, guys. I go ahead and get the S8M set up, like I said, I like to be able to do my 0 pass on there. And the reason why is because I just sweep across it in 3 different spots. It gives me a really good probability of not having any kind of issues or anything like that. But sometimes you can have a bolt hole with a big burr sticking up, people over tightening things, or around the dowel pins especially, people sometimes the beat heads down on the dowel pins and it makes a real big burr right there. Alright, so now that the S8M has done its first 0 pass here, we have the light flashing here to go right. And you want to make sure that you have the light flashing when you want to go right, because if you don't, it will mess up your end of cut and you'll have to go back and reset it in the machine. So go ahead, just hit that, it automatically feeds back across by itself, which is another feature that I love about the machine. I don't have to sit there and hold the button down for it to go. Alright, I'll go ahead and stop the machine. I'll go ahead and drop my cutter head down a couple thousandths. Just make sure that I am cutting left to right flat and from the back flat. I don't like to take a big cut because you can still have it not set up quite the way that you want. You can hear that cutter cutting. It's a nice sound. It's not micro welding or anything like that. S8M has just finished its second pass on here with 2000s, and if we take a close look at the deck of the cylinder head, we can see that we have a nice finish from front to back, and we have the cutters cutting from left to right nice too. And we can also see, like I said, this is a brand new cylinder head, and it's actually not flat. On this back side is warped a little bit still, so we're going to go ahead and just do one more pass with it.
Name's Ken Carlson. We're here at Larry's Auto Machine, Groton, Connecticut. Standing in front of a Rottler F68A. We purchased this years and years and years ago, basically for all our block operations. Extremely easy to use. We do all our block boring, decking. We do a lot of block sleeving, a lot of domestic stuff, a lot of import stuff. It can do line boring also. I believe it's machine number 1, serial number 1. Definitely has sped things up for us. The accuracy is awesome. The ease of use with all the touch screen is really easy to use. And like with everything else with Rottler, the service, the quality, it's always been there for us. Today we have an LS block in here. We're just going to do show you one of the quick operations that it can do as far as square decking the block, because the blocks are actually, the V8 blocks are actually fixtured with the performance fixture lined up with the main bore tunnel and with the cam bore tunnel. It actually squares everything up, and it's going to true the surface to the main bore. Yeah, so basically one of the operations we're going to show you is, how easy it is just to deck the block, square it up. The touch screen system and the way the numbering is and everything, the different screens you go in and out of are so easy. Once you set your, couple little parameters, it's extremely easy, and basically you just walk up, hit your start cycle, the machine's going to do its thing, and now you can walk away and you can actually start working on something else. One of the reasons we got the Rottler F68 is the accuracy of it. The machines we were using before, the older type equipment, you're using a boring bar that basically mounted on the deck of the block. Cumbersome, real slow, really not the most accurate machines in the world. And when you're done with that, it had to get set up into another machine if you wanted to do the decking again, basically wasting a lot of time. With this machine here, you can do all the operations almost in one setup. So something that was taking you maybe half, 3/4 of a day, you can now bore and deck, a V8 block in an hour and a half. Typically, to be honest with you. So you're saving a ton of time on top of being, a lot more accurate. One of the biggest advantages of this machine over everything we used to have years ago is because it uses locators in the main bore tunnel and also the cam tunnel. It's not only squaring it, front to back, it's also lining it up 90 degrees, to the main tunnel. With any kind of performance build, all the race stuff that we do, a lot of drag race, a ton of circle track stuff. Every little thousandths here and there is horsepower. So it definitely gives us a lot better product in the long run.
Hey everybody, we're back live. Going to do some more Q&A. We've got Ed Kiebler and Joe Creason. Ed from Rottler, Joe, Creason Racing Engines out of Missouri. And seeing the demonstration, first of all, that was tremendous. Actually working and doing and building and making. Joe, I know you've got a successful engine shop. Ed, the machine, just endless questions. I invite you folks out there, use the chat section. We'll take some questions right now. If you have anything about the machine, its capability, what it can do, certain circumstances, send them in now. There's no question that is a bad question, as they would say. And these are the kind of things that you field on a daily basis. People trying to upgrade their equipment, maybe a little intimidated by the technology, but then once they dive in, they realize, oh my goodness, this is making my job easier.
Very simple to operate, takes the operator out of the equation, plus the operator can be doing something else in the shop, which is paramount in today's shop. Joe, has one of these machines, and he can kind of tell you that. As an owner, he has numerous employees, and I've had the privilege of knowing Joe for probably 5 or 6 years now and been to his shop many times. He has a pristine, beautiful race shop, and Joe can probably tell you a little bit about the advantages of this machine.
Excellent. Well, first of all, Joe.
Yes.
Joe's of the World Unite.
Yes.
There's a secret society. You guys are not welcome. But, as an engine builder, it's a passion, but it's also a business. So whenever you can do multiple things at the same time and focus on things, that's what this machine allows you to do.
Exactly. You have to operate in a profit. I mean, it is a passion. We love it, but you have to make money. And if you can have a man doing 3 jobs versus just one, it just makes more money. I mean, keeps keeps you in the black. You got to be in the black. So
makes sense. All right, we got a Frederick from Norway. Just wants to know, what are they spraying on top of the deck before machining?
So, do you use anything, Joe, during your machining operations?
We do not. We do ours dry most of the time. Every once in a while, we'll use WD-40 or just some lubricant.
Okay.
But most of the time, dry. Iron always dry. Aluminum every once in a while, WD-40.
Okay, and that is just to keep it the tool bit from picking up a chip.
Correct.
And just marking the surface is all that's really
all
for.
it's for. Yeah.
I have several customers that maybe use. I've heard of PAM, believe it or not, the cooking spray. But,
sure.
But they claim that the PAM, because it has a temperature resistance, really helps when you're machining. There's a but a liquid out there called Cool Cut that seems to work very well, that comes highly recommended. It's pretty expensive per gallon, but you just use a little bit of it and wipe it on that aluminum surface right before you cut. You don't really spray it on, it's just kind of a wipe on because it's pretty expensive.
Interesting, but it sounds like a trick of the trade and a personal preference depending on who you're talking to.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
One key is keeping the cutter bit sharp. Keep it rotated.
Keeping
it to a sharp point, and then you have less chance of it dragging the aluminum across there.
Yep.
All right, next question from Alex. Alex, thank you very much for your question. What about machining for a top hat liner? Does it auto tool change, is the question.
I'm not sure what Alex means by that question.
Yeah, what about machining for a top hat liner? Does it auto tool change? And we have more as well, if that's maybe an earlier question that got into our feed.
So the machine will not automatic tool change. It's a surfacer only, and depending on the material you're using, that brings up a point. I think Hal and Chris alluded to CBN and PCD, and they're correct. PCD is an aluminum only insert. CBN can be used on either or. But as Chuck Lynch, I think, iterated in his subject, that the CBN, although you can use it on aluminum, probably isn't the optimal for surface finish.
Excellent. This one for Joe from Jerry at Creason Racing. Are your bores honed and checked with a profilometer? And they're looking for someone new in the St. Louis area. It looks like the expo was worth it already. So there you go.
Yes, we check every bore with a surface profilometer.
And why is that important?
Surface finish is key. And even if you set up So different hardness blocks, different sleeve material, dart and sleeve versus an old 350 Chevy GM block will take a different setting on your honing pressures, maybe even different stones to get the proper finish.
And confirmed the last question was from the previous machine, so that makes perfect sense. Here's one from Ken, and this may not be exactly what we're looking at the moment. Why would I get a block back that the piston under deck is different from number 2 and number 8? The difference.
So I think what he means there is his deck height is, in other words, one piston's further in the hole or further out of the deck. And Joe, you being a race engine builder, you can probably comment on that probably better than I could.
So it can be a stack of tolerances. The piston manufacturer itself not be correct or be off by a couple thousandths. The connecting rod, the crank throw could be different. The block could actually be machined not perfectly equal end to end.
Paralleled end to end.
Parallel end to end and side to side.
Exactly. Joe is out there, and he's not doing automotive machining, but he makes aluminum parts for radio-controlled cars.
Oh, really? Wow.
And using 6061, and he just wants to know about using coolant on cutting tips to make the cutter last longer. He thought that is the norm.
Typically, when you're machining parts on just like our 5-axis head machining or porting machine over there, that is a constant flow of coolant, and you're trying to wash away the chips and keep the coolant or the cutter tip cool. But on surfacing, as a rule, we don't use the coolant because it's a very messy process. And this machine will work both on cast iron and aluminum. And so what happens is if you end up doing some aluminum, you end up doing some cast iron, those kind of mix into the coolant, and it becomes rancid much quicker.
Oh, makes perfect
so we try
sense.
to keep it a dry process.
All right, we got time for some more questions, so send them in before we move along, and we certainly appreciate everyone, and hopefully you're encouraging your friends to watch and share the link so we can get more people on. It's been amazing how many people have logged on today. Talk a little bit about the machine, and let's go back in terms of efficiency, the simplicity and efficiency that the technology has made happen. Like, you can do so much more and create a better product.
Okay. So the biggest thing I have found is this table. The setup time is so much quicker than the old methods. You can get it on there, get it clamped in there any possible way. Their clamping system works extremely well, but if you got some odd shaped deal, you can get it clamped in there and then leveling it. The old machines you had to get it clamped level, which could be extremely time consuming, but that makes this job so much easier. If you're doing the exact same head again, or the same type of head, say like an LS head, come back to do another LS head, most of the time you put it in there, you clamp it up, and it's level. So it just makes it a lot faster.
Well, and that, I'm sure that's what a lot of the time is, right? Setting up the units.
Setting up, yep.
It's all set up time.
It's set up time.
And just to emphasize that a little bit, what Joe's talking about is on the old style clamp fixtures, you would have to put the level on the head, and you're actually moving the fixture or bumping the cylinder head to do that. With this, you just clamp the cylinder head on there. We don't care if the cylinder head is level. All we want is all the rock out of the cylinder head. And then the table moves in two planes. So we move both this way and end to end. So it makes it very quick to actually level a cylinder head and then cut.
Here's one that you'll probably like. Does Rottler have distributors in Europe?
Yes, we do. I'm the domestic sales manager, so I'm not sure who or where they are, but yes, sir, we do. We have distributors all throughout the world, actually.
Well, exactly. And as we continue along, you got a couple more moments to fire off a question to us as we try to learn a little bit more about the machine. We learned a lot about surfacing earlier and how vital it is. You've already mentioned keeping the tooling sharp. That's going to give us a great surface.
Correct. And to talk about a question that a guy asked earlier about using coolant. In this operation, typically we're just taking a real light cut. We're not machining parts. The guy was asking about machining parts and using flood coolant. This machine, typically you just take a surface that is just a little bit irregular and just trying to make it smooth. You typically don't machine a tremendous amount off the part.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Ed,
So that's why you don't have coolant.
there you
point,
go.
Joe.
Ed, Joe, thank you very much. More questions, put them in the chat section. We're going to get to them. No matter what, we're going to keep on trucking. Gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to throw it to a video, and on the other side, we're going to have Doug Yates, so stick around. What a day, what a day, what a day. Yeah, my brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.